Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us at the MarketSite studio in Times Square, New York City, we have Dr. Merav Ozair. She's a leading global blockchain expert. We're going to take a look at data accountability and compliance in the metaverse. Merav, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Many thanks for having me here again. I'm always excited to be here.
Yes, and this is one of my favorite topics, and I want to continue on from our conversation in July where we introduced the concept of ethics in the metaverse. It opens up a range of opportunities, but there are a number of concerns that come with that. What are the high-level concerns that you're looking at?
Well, I mean, let's put it this way. I mean, we already know that there are problems when you use the internet, because basically if you think about it, the internet is Web 2. When we're moving to the metaverse, that's the Web 3. So it's still internet, but we're working from a centralized internet to decentralized internet, and in fact, the metaverse, in fact, I mentioned that it could be either centralized or decentralized. We already know there are problems with our internet. We have heard about how centralized companies that control the data, whether it's Google and the Facebook and the Apple and all of that, they all control our data. And people don't understand, sometimes, when I ask my students, for example, when you have all these apps which are supposedly free, right? And they basically ask you, are you willing, for us to use your data and blah, blah, blah. And they don't even, pay attention to it, just say yes, 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 and then get it for free, and okay,
and of course, nothing is for free.
Nothing is for free. And then you get an application which is free, whether it's a WhatsApp or all this wonderful social media that we like, the Instagram, etc. You're not paying for it, but you're paying for them in the back door, meaning they use your data, and you don't even know how they use your data because you just said yes, 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 meaning letting them approving or giving them the consent that it's okay for them to do whatever they want to do with it. So we already know that it has been used either for marketing or setting a profile, and the Cambridge Analytica case, which was all over the news a few years ago, was that this consulting company, even used it for they sold it to this consulting company who used it for political advantage and all kinds of things like that. And that was a big deal, and from that we got all this protection, data protection, that the GDPR in Europe, and also some states here there's no federal regulation about that, but state by state there are 5 states: California, Connecticut, I think Colorado, Utah, and Virginia. They all set up some rules about data protection. So we already know there's a problem. And that if you give it to these centralized organizations and the data is controlled by them, it might be exploited in a way that might I don't know, damage us or something of some sort, and we have no control over that. So the question, so there's a few things to think about. Now, when we're moving even to the metaverse and all these 5G and all kinds, Internet of Things and all of that, and that will be all the concept, of what we have in the metaverse. So the data in terms of amount and it's going to be really
even more than what we have now. Well, I guess what the issue is, and you and I discuss this all the time, is that the technology moves way quicker than the regulatory framework. We're still using an act from 1996 to regulate social media. It's, look how old. The regulations are just so old. So, how should businesses, developers, marketers think about the metaverse? How can they prepare for it?
I think that we should be proactive and not, wait, for the regulators, to do something. And for example, if you think about it, what is, all of this, all these collections of data, and, also of how the metaverse is going to interact, and all this digital, information that is happening, is basically an algorithm, right? So the algorithm can be biased. Why? I mean, people say, oh, it's an algo, it's automated.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, but someone wrote this algo.
Right, right.
I mean,
there's a lot of bias.
I mean, it's not like, someone, I don't know, there's some mysterious, someone, some angel, came and put it. It's humans. Humans wrote it. So we have conscious or unconscious biases. So it starts from that. And we also, just to give you an example how an algo can be biased is there was, do you remember the Apple Card that Goldman Sachs was issued by Goldman Sachs? Do you remember the story back then that they said that there was some kind of a bias, a gender bias about? So, and I remember that the first reaction of Goldman Sachs, they fixed it eventually, but the first reaction was, well, it's the algo. It's not really the right reaction, because what do you mean is algo? Someone wrote this algo. Some of your developers wrote it.
Right.
So they, and you collected some data, and the data you collected probably was biased, because the data you collected was mostly male rather than female, and that created that bias. So, and this is how you created that algo. They fixed it eventually, but the idea is that we have to think, first of all, about creating a diverse community, and really being conscious on who writes the data and who writes, this algorithm. And in fact, even working even further with that, the culture of the company, of these developers, writing it, should be diverse and feel welcome.
Right.
So even if you're coming from different background, the company should make you feel that you can express yourself.
But
if you can express yourself, that kind of feeds itself into the algo, because if I feel comfortable that I can express myself, I can also create a fair and unbiased algo.
Which is so interesting, because in the most recent piece you wrote for Nasdaq.com, one of your concepts was diversity in tech. And when we talk about diversity and inclusion, we think about it as, what does our employee networks look like? How do we look as a company? How are we marketing ourselves?
Right.
But at the end of the day, no one thinks of it where the algorithms and the data that's harvested, there still is a human behind the scenes. You've done a ton of empirical research as a PhD.
Right.
Data sets can certainly be biased.
Of course, it can be biased. It all depends on who collects it, how you collect it, what feeds into this data. And if you create this culture that collects the data and use the data, so they already have the conscious of diversity and fairness and unbiasedness. So if they collect the data, and if they create those algos, and also the users of that, they will understand that they have to be conscious of how to use it properly, or not, and in a way that is not taking advantage of someone, or doing something that is a bias or something like that. And I think that we should be proactive in that, and think about it, not wait for the law to come and tell us you have to be such and such, and you should have this quota of diversity in your company. People don't need to hear that. They need to understand that it's needed. It's essential of who we are. Right. And understand that it's very important of having like a really free and accepting community and society, because we want to accept, because everyone is saying, oh, we're all equal, we accept everyone has a free expression, but it's one thing to say it, the other thing is to act,
to do it. Yeah,
to do it.
So Merav, to wrap up here, how would you recommend to businesses to manage accountability and compliance when it comes to data?
I think that it comes, I think on all levels, not just the management, or just, so everyone in the company should understand what data is, and not, so the training not, be conserved only to the developers or, the analytical teams, but everyone should understand what data is, what is the uses of it, what are the implications, what are the problems. So the accountability should be like across the entire company. So everyone should feel that they are accountable for that. And there's no like Goldman Sachs saying, oh, it's the algo. That's, doesn't say much about accountability, because everyone has to feel that they are part of the process. And if they're part of the process, then it will feed into a conscious behavior of how we use the data, what we do with that, how we apply it, how we protect people, and giving and putting the onus on us rather than waiting for the law to tell us what to do.
Yeah, all right. Well, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks.
My
Thanks
pleasure.
for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.